And it's recording. So hello everyone. Today is July the 15th and I'm Orlin and I'm the community manager for Contour. We have our regular office hours today. Happy to discuss any topics you have. I think Gary has some topics, right?
Yeah, I'm working on two docs. I sent them out to the Contour channel. So I'll start with the getting started guide first. I had passed that by Celeste just to get some input, so she was able to give me some guidance. I guess my question, I didn't. Nick had taken a look at it from the philosophy section, and he gave me some feedback. I didn't realize that uh, Contour Operator was not sort of production ready. So I'm gonna have to go back and just sort of take that, because I had a part in there that said for production, this is the best, this is the preferred method. So I didn't realize that was actually not Contour Operator was not ready for that. I did have a question about spinning up a kind cluster. There was, I think it was from Steve Sloka's, one of his guides, adding in a config file. So if you do create kind create cluster dash dash config, you can pass in a config file. Is that a local file or can that be a URL?
Local file. Normally kind works with local
Local,
files.
local? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, yeah, if it was possible to have that online. My other question was, when you're I guess installing Contour, there's a YAML file, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm still new to all the terminology. Some of them refer to a fully qualified domain name, local.projectcontour.io, and some of them don't. So I'm just looking for, I want to be kind of consistent. If I find there's a specific YAML file that doesn't have the fully qualified domain name, is that something that we can add in?
Can you share that, please? If you have it handy, if you can show the exact thing.
Let me see if I can find. Let me just throw it into the chat. It's this one.
Okay. For the purpose of discussion, I'm gonna share it. Give me a sec. That's one, right?
Oh, you know what? Sorry, it's not that one.
Okay.
Apologize. Maybe it's the QRD file. Is that, if that's how you pronounce it as well? Could you open up that one?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Why I cannot open it? There you go.
Yeah,
I think it's just,
I thought there was something where it
No.
specified a fully qualified domain name. There was one of them that you could just in your browser or curl local.projectio.projectcontour.io. So some of them have it, some of them don't.
yeah. So for a lot of how Contour works in Envoy, like you've got to route to a host name, right? So you can't route to an IP address because the idea is that we're a layer 7 proxy. So that means that you want to route to domain names. So what we did in the Project Contour DNS, we made a new entry, a new A record for local.projectcontour.io, and it just essentially resolves back to localhost. So the idea is that when you do the kind cluster method, where you create a cluster locally, you can have a fully qualified domain name and then kind of follow along with like a real domain
Right.
without having to go buy one and do all that kind of work. So yeah, I think in all the examples, if we want to use it, that's totally fine to me to help be consistent. I know some of the examples are just examples of like, here's how this could look. And some of them are more like, here, apply this and then try it and then to follow along locally. So either way, I think it wouldn't hurt to be consistent with that.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great, I think. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So if I do find some of the files that don't have a fully qualified domain name, then maybe that's something that we can update just so that I can be consistent with instructions.
Yeah. Sometimes we use like, example.com or whatever, we're
Right.
not all, we're all over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So my basic process when I'm doing the quick start is instructions to set up Kind, set up Docker, start walking through creating a cluster, installing Contour, and then I do a sort of a sanity test, which is to use the QRD. Is that how you pronounce it, by the way?
Yeah, so it's from the book Kubernetes Up and Running. So that's
Okay.
where the QRAD, people call it QWERTY,
Okay.
but it stands for that. The KUARD is Kubernetes Up and Running.
Up and running. Okay.
Deployment
So-
maybe, yeah. So yeah, it's just a simple little app that lets you do
Yeah.
some things, which is fun. Yeah.
Okay, so I have that installed as a sanity test, and then I delete it, and then I install HTTP proxy. That's I think something that you guys developed as part of the project, right?
Yeah, that's one way you can configure how traffic gets routed. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
and then I do the same thing. I do a QRD sanity test just to make sure everything's running. That's the basic process of what I've gone through, and then I've added in Quick Start to use Helm as well. Then I've got a troubleshooting section, next steps section, and then how to connect and sort of what you want to do after that. So that's kind of the rundown of the Contour getting started guide.
Okay. It would be great. We don't have to do it now. We can do it as a second step, but that HTTP proxy is our CRD, but there are 3 different ways now that we support configuring that ingress. So there's like Kubernetes ingress, there's our CRD, and now there's this thing called Gateway API, which is like a new way of doing it. So it'd be great to have like the choose your own adventure kind of thing. Like I want to install it and I want to use Kind and I want to use Gateway. So then here's a quick start and how to do that. That'd be a great way to get folks, started up with all the examples, depending on what flavor of ingress they want to use. Again, that can be a follow-up. It doesn't have to be with this because it gets too big sometimes.
Exactly. There's lots of combinations that you can do. Okay, yeah, that's something to keep in mind then.
Yeah, so if we don't have an issue, we could open one for that just to cover it so we don't lose track of it. But that would be a good, I think.
Okay. All
second
right,
step to this. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll keep working on the quick start guide. The contributing guide. I know a couple of people have gotten back to me on some input, which is really great. I did break it down into contributing code, website, or documentation. Those seem to be, I don't know if there's anything else that people contribute to. I wasn't sure on, I'm just going through the document. The purpose of the different meetings. I get the community user meeting. How does that differentiate with this meeting, which is the office hours meeting?
The office hours, Jonas can correct me. In the office hours, we discuss stuff like this. And the community meeting is more process, roadmap, stuff like this.
Okay.
Yeah, so the office hours are for deeper discussions, just like this. That might not necessarily tie to immediate roadmap items, but rather like contribution questions, just like the one you have here, things like that. And then the community meeting is more issue triaging and status updates and roadmaps.
Okay. All right. Perfect. My other question was, where do you want to store the meeting information? Because there's a bunch of different places where I see it, either on the Contour site itself or on GitHub. So I can always point or reference to a different page as a location, and then if I find other pages that also have the information, I can point it to someplace. Where would the preferred place be to hold that information? Would it be the community page? Because I think it's kind of laid out. You've got on the left column, if you're looking on a desktop browser, the sort of new users. The middle section, you've got the Slack, and you've got Twitter, and on the far right, you've got the meeting information in there. So not really sure where you want sort of like that single point of information to be.
You mean the meeting notes from, for example, community meetings,
No,
or
well, that's part of it, but specifically the dates and times when the meetings take place.
we don't have that written down as schedule, like in calendar we have on the 15th, but we
Yeah, if you look on the community page, on the right side,
let me open that.
yeah, on the right
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
there is a place that says every first and second of the month. Here's the times. So that's one place where it's located, but it's located a few other different places. I didn't want to duplicate that same information in the contributing guide as well.
The contributing guide should point to that page on the website. It
On the
shouldn't
community
be-
page.
Yeah, it shouldn't
Okay.
be duplicated across different pages. Everything should point to the community page.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll do that. And if I find that located elsewhere, like in GitHub, then I'll maybe suggest to do that as well, to point to the community page. Yeah, that's the information. So you've got that called out here for the user group. It's not called out specifically for the office hours, so maybe that's an opportunity to put that information somewhere on this page as well.
Good point.
Okay, my last question is it Contour or Project Contour?
Steve Sloka can answer that. He loves that topic, obviously.
No, I mean, it's good to be consistent too. I mean, it was always Contour along the way. And then I think the domain name was taken, contour.com or whatever. So we ended up with
Right.
projectcontour.io. I don't know, Jonas, what are we in the CNCF, I guess? Like, what's the official? I think it's just Contour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Contour. The
Yeah.
official name is Contour.
Yeah. So to me, I'd rather just say Contour than Project Contour, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
official
so
name is Contour. So yeah.
even the community page I'm looking at now at the top, it says join the Project Contour users meeting,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, okay, I'll be consistent then in my documents and just use Contour.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's all that I had to discuss.
Follow-up question to that. Is it Contour? And how exactly you're gonna pronunciate that one? Because in my part of the world, it will sound differently, I suppose, than in the US or Australia if Nick was on the call. So what's the kind of, the kubectl against the kube control, whatever thing? It's just out of curiosity, what's the most established pronunciation out there for now?
I've always heard it as the first syllable will get the emphasis.
Contour.
Contour as opposed to contour.
I don't know. I find something French in the name, so I instinctively putting the stress on the last. So sorry for that.
Yeah, I think we go with the Contour. Yeah, it's yeah. Maybe we should have that have a pronunciation guide just like they do for Kubernetes.
Is there a pronunciation guide for Kubernetes now?
Yeah, they've stated exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced because there were so many people pronouncing it in different ways.
I feel a t-shirt coming on, right?
It's Kubernetes. Obviously.
Hates.
Great. Anyone else?
Well, thank you, Gary. Yeah, thanks for all that. That's great. So we really appreciate all of your work. So let us know whenever you have something else. Ping us in the channel again. We'll be sure to take a look again.
Okay, thanks a lot.
John, did you have anything you wanted to bring up today?
Yeah, I did. I was doing accessibility review for the Project Contour site. Just kind of wanted to make sure that I was on the right track. Let's see. Let me
Yeah.
find. I've got an issue here that it's 3835 is the one that's created for that.
Do you want to share and kind of walk through what you've found so far?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right. So I tried to break it up by different sections. There were some that were specific to different pages that are further down, but the first thing was, this is pretty much across the site, is that the contrast was flagged on text that's hyperlink for not quite being the recommended contrast ratio between the background and the text. So I had suggested a little bit darker color for the hyperlinked items. The only question I had with that is it looked like that color was pretty specific to Contour. You know, it's used in other spots like in the header and stuff like that. So I didn't know, you know, if that was something we wanted to change or if it was, you know, needed to change it or not.
Yeah, you can try it out, see how it looks.
Try it out, see how it looks. Okay, definitely. Okay. There really wasn't a lot of stuff, to be honest. Some of the things were more related to like screen reader type things, where if you're tabbing through the site, you typically would want to have like descending order for your heading elements. And there were some where, you know, instead of there's a H1 and H2 headers, but there's no H3 and it goes to H4. So that'd be another one that I think I'll, like you said, just kind of test it out and see how it looks, switching it to an H3 possibly.
Sounds good.
And then there were other ones where several pages where just the alt text wasn't available for specific images. So that should be simple enough to add that. So yeah, didn't have a lot, just had a couple items really to talk about on that one.
Nice. This is good. I think part of this could then go into a style guide as well. I know we have an issue up for a style guide. We already have a style guide for another project. We actually borrowed a lot from the Kubernetes project, so maybe we could apply that one later on. So we could have a style guide, agree on a style guide, and then going forward, we'll make sure that the documentation and everything follows that style guide. I don't want to re-implement or like backport a style guide to all existing docs, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Would it be probably best to break these up into separate pull requests then, you think, just to kind of not have everything loaded on one?
Yeah, I think the hyperlink and the headers, header logo, that's fine to have in one, and then we can have the alt attribute to all the images as a separate one.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks. That's all I have.
One follow-up question on that, which I guess might be related to the contrast item. So we have some like inline code literals. Like I'll paste a link here in the chat that has a bunch of them.
Okay.
And this is anywhere we're referencing, you know, like annotations or specific code or keywords. And to me, those don't have much contrast. So I don't know if that got flagged. But I think we could look at maybe using a different style for those, because they're, you know, they use a different font, but the color is very similar to normal text and doesn't stand out too much. So maybe another item to tackle.
Yeah, definitely. That looks like that would be flagged. I'll add that to that issue.
Okay, cool, awesome.
One more thing, now that I'm looking at this, I remember as we were going through the migration from Jekyll to Hugo, I remember there were a lot of instances where a code sample or a code snippet like this was actually a link as well. But of course, you don't know that because it doesn't look like a link. And there's no notice that this is actually a link. I think maybe we should break that out and have the code snippet separately, and then more information or docs here or something like that next to it. Because right now you wouldn't know that this is a link because it's not visible at all.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll make sure to look for that too and try to find an example.
And that should go to the style guide for documentation, right? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find one, and I'll send it over to John as well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Actually, I found one right now. It's in the guides. So now I see that it is visible, but it looks a little weird. So if you go to external auth, you see extension service and HTTP proxy is marked blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Okay. So it's got the box around it, but the text is the blue color.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if that's good or not. Looks a little strange in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. I'll see what we can do for that possibly too.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Anyone else? Something? Nope. Shall we call it then? If no more topics to discuss? Okay. Thank you very much, and see you next time, folks. Bye.
Y'all.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you very much.